Good evening, everybody. I'm Kath from Make the Change, helping you to put a brightness back into every day. And welcome to Let's Talk. Managing Your Mood, or Mind Your Mood, is the actual title. Now, the reason why I have decided to talk about this tonight is because, you know, we talk a lot about our mood, and we all have moods, whether they are up here and they're bright and sparky and cheerful and happy, or whether they're just very balanced, you know, when you're just getting on, you're busy, you're concentrating and everything is okay with you, or whether they're down here, right down here, and it could be on two sort of different levels. You can have a really angry, fiery, thundery mood, or on the other side you could be very anxious, stressed, depressed and extremely down. Okay, and if you are experiencing moods like this, well, if you know, sort of, yeah, moods that are below your balance, and you are finding it very difficult to shift those moods up above your balance area into the sort of happiness area, then this is the perfect time to start looking at them, investigating them, analysing them, to see, you know, how often you're having these periods of time, perhaps what the triggers are, and how you are managing them. All right, if you are finding you're having them sort of over a long period of time, then, you know, it's probably because you're not managing them as well as you would like to. Okay, so what do you do about it, or how do you analyse it? And there's lots of different ways that you can do this. Some people find journaling really useful, or you know, putting a sort of label on them and writing about them. But there are other things that you can do, perhaps more creative things that you can do. But to me, if you are worried and concerned about it, then it's an important time to spend and give yourself proper time looking at them. Okay, so that you can see if there's a pattern, because there probably is a pattern. It might be a certain time of day, a certain time of the week, a certain time of the month, or even the year. And, you know, a lot of people struggle with their mood over the winter time until, you know, we get to a better time of year when the mornings are lighter, the evening the light in the evening is lasting longer, and there's more sunshine, and that generally brings a lot of people's moods back up again after the winter blues. Okay, so what I've done is I've made up a couple of little things to show you of how you could start logging these moods. Okay, now the first one I've done is, I'm just seeing whether you can see the whole lot actually. Okay, now what I've done is I've sectioned this off so you've got a whole month. All right, so on this one you've got 31 days. All right, and then I've got several little blocks, so I'm just going to home in a minute. We are on number 1, aren't we? Yeah, that's right. Okay, several little blocks. Okay, now the green line I've put there is your balance line. Okay, where everything is running smoothly, you're content, you're calm, you're peaceful, things are going your way, and, you know, there's nothing too dramatic going on. Only you will know what that feels like to you. Okay, because everybody is going to, that line is going to feel different for everybody. All right, so what we're looking at here is above the line, so that is happier than your balance, and then below the line, which is of course the not so great area. Okay, so then as an example, what I've done is along the bottom as you can see here, I've coloured in the little boxes so that you can colour code where you are at, okay, and how strong a feeling that is. So the thing would be to do is to name or describe that colour. All right, now I've put a whole variety on here, and I've done this sort of personal to me because it's going to be the colours associated with feelings and emotions are going to be very individual to everybody. Okay, so I have actually put quite a light yellow at the top, all right, because that's how I see my happiest time. And then I've gone down through the colours. Now for me, I've put from yellow to orange to red, okay, because for me red is a colour that brings me joy. Now for some people that is going to be totally different. You know, I taught somebody who had real anger issues, and when he got extremely angry he saw red. Okay, so this is why your colour coding has to be very personal to you. Okay, and it might be that, you know, at the bottom end of the scale I've put the browns and the blacks, okay, so they might be sort of a deep anxiety, deep stress, depression. Again, it's very much up to you, but to name it so that you know exactly when you are colouring in your blocks, that you can be very specific for you about what you're colouring in, why you're colouring it in that colour, so that when you look back at it at the end of the month, you can see exactly, you know, what you have been logging. All right, so up here, right at the top here, would be that everything is fantastic, the best it could possibly be, 100% happy, and there's not one little thing that would be less happy, if you know what I mean. And then down at the bottom here is the worst that your day could bring. Okay, so but what is important is that you give yourself time to do this, all right, because unless you start investigating your feelings, your emotions, how it's affecting you with what you're saying, your behaviour, how you're socialising, how you're being at work, at home, with your friends, you know, it's going to be very, very difficult to unravel what's going on inside of your head. So what this is about is this is about having more understanding about you, all right, so that you can start to adjust your thought processes, which will have an effect on your emotions and your feelings, which will then have an effect on your behaviour patterns. Okay, now, you know, if we're not talking about yourself here, you might be experiencing issues with somebody else in your family, maybe your children or people that you care for, and you know, this is something that perhaps you could introduce them to. We all know and have all experienced, you know, when you know, say at work in the office, I know I used to experience this lot in the classroom, that the group would be absolutely fine and getting on, working hard, reasonably happy, having a bit of a laugh and a joke, and then somebody would come through the door and the atmosphere would just plummet, because that person who has walked through the door has a toxic mood. Okay, and then, you know, they leave the room for whatever reason and everybody goes, oh, you know, sigh of relief, they've gone, and people will resume back. And it also works the other way as well. Some people can walk in the room and just uplift the room, uplift the atmosphere in the room, sort of almost instantly. You know, it can work both ways. And this is the thing about mood, isn't it? It's finding what it is that you like or you dislike about yourselves, and then finding a way around how to manage it. Now what I did is had a little play around, excuse me for getting another sheet out here, had a little play around with some images so that, you know, you can do this in a more fun way if you want to. You don't have to do it in a straightforward analytical way, okay? So you could do it as images of the weather, but I also added a heart on the top as well. Okay, so you could depict your mood like that if you wanted to. Or the other end is with little facial expressions, which might be good for younger kids or people who are struggling to express and explain what it is that they're feeling. And then of course you've got the good old speech bubble, memory bubble, the sort of exclamation thing and the heart thing here, you know, as different ideas. Okay, and you could use these by putting a descriptive word in. You could use things like balloons. How high is the balloon from your baseline? If that is all a bit too sort of, you know, if you're not really the sort of person who is so inclined to be, you know, sort of creative and drawing, that sort of thing, then you can use the number system. That is absolutely fine. Or just write about it, because actually, you know, like I mentioned earlier, that journaling is a very good way of, you know, getting down on paper what it is that you're thinking, feeling and behaviour, and why, because that's what you need to go on to next once you've logged, is why are you having these feelings? What has triggered it? What is sustaining that feeling that you don't want? Okay, now this is a very searching time if you're going to do this exercise, but once you start doing it, you might, well, I hope that you find it very opening. It will open your mind. It will help you understand yourself a lot better. It will, I think it will give you more self-respect because of the self-honesty. All right, and I know I talk a lot about self-honesty and it can be very, very hard to do, but once you get into the swing of it, it means that you're connecting with yourself so much better, and it means that you are more accountable to yourself, because at the end of the day, yes, something has happened that has triggered that mood, but in actual fact it is your choice, whether you realise it or not, to accept that trigger and to stay in that mood. Okay, and that can be the difficult bit. If you don't want to acknowledge it, if you don't want to accept it, you have the responsibility over your mood, then it is going to be very difficult to change it. It can be a hard lesson to learn, but, you know, once you start doing it and you get over the hurdle of the dislike and perhaps the disdain you have for yourself while you are thinking about it, it'll put you in a far better position to be able to make things right. And that isn't just short term, that is long term. So we're talking here about long term personal development, long term personal improvement. Okay, so again, it's back to understanding ourselves, you know, while we're working on these different issues. So that is a few ideas about how to chart your mood. Okay, now if you want to discuss this further, if you know there's something that you want to question, or you want me to share those charts with you or those ideas with you, then all you've got to do is just to send me a message or pop a message in the box, the comments box underneath, and you know, I'll do that for you, no problem. Or we can arrange to have a little chat, you know, privately. Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you there. Good luck with your mood charts. You know, don't feel as if you're on your own. You know where I am. And have a great week, and I look forward to speaking to you next week. Bye bye now.